Hello, my name is Jacob Simmons, and the title of my book is What's the Big Secret? It is a children's book that is supposed to help talk about the differences between boys and girls for young children between the age of 4 and 7. This book was written by Little Books for Young Readers. It is a company, and the two main writers slash drawing expert is Lori Brown. She's the writer. She was a teacher and a parent, has a lot of experience dealing with kids growing up and learning the differences that change in the human body as you grow up. And then Mark Brown is actually the creator of Arthur, the TV show on PBS, and the Arthur books as well. So both of them together have a very good knowledge of how talking to children and writing a children's book together can bring children in to learn and communicate to the children through the book well. As I said before, this book is meant for ages 4 to 7 and is meant for both boys and girls. It is a very good book. It covers both sides really well without making it specifically for a boy, specifically for a girl. This book gives kids the understanding on what's the difference between a boy and a girl. It talks about sex. It talks about, how boys have a penis and girls have a vagina and kind of what's different about it. But what I think is also really important is it teaches kids about privacy for those reasons as well. When really little kids might walk into their parents' bathroom and not know the difference, but then, kids need to start learning that you don't come into the bathroom while mommy's taking a shower because mommy's naked. And they understand why mommy's naked and what it means to be that mom's naked and that you're a boy, so you're not supposed to walk in while mommy's taking a shower. This book is really good to be, either have the child read it to you or you read it to the child. It's really good for you to be around. I think some kids maybe, could read it by themselves and then you could talk about it afterwards, but I really think there needs to be some kind of parent involvement with this book. It's more of a guiding thing for you to talk to your child about sex. Next, I'm going to read a couple of reviews from Amazon. Some of them are kind of long. I picked the 2 5-star one, a 4-star, 5-star, and then a 1-star. I'm going to talk about the 4 and the 5, and then I'll go over the 1. All right. So the first one is, I read this with my 2-year-old boy, 4 and 6, and they both, 2-year-old boys, 4 and 6, they were able to understand the information the way it was presented. It was straightforward and factual. It was comfortable for me to read to them also. This is a wonderful place to start a frank and open discussion in the age-appropriate terms. Highly recommended. That was the 4-star. 5-star. My daughter is currently at Columbia U to be a clinical MSW and sex therapist. I purchased this book for her as she will be counseling young children. This book is beautifully written and illustrated well, and a wonderful first addition to her growing library for her office. I highly recommend for all parents who are flustered or embarrassed to speak to their children about sex. Sex is natural. That's the end of the 5-star one. What I said about these first 2 comments is that they are great examples of this being used in a household setting and in a workplace setting. This would be great maybe for a counselor to use, for maybe, a child who has answers like that, or like it said, a sex therapist, things like that. It has more uses than just in-home reading, but it, it just shows that it's a really good book for multiple different reasons. And the last one I'm going to read here is the 1-star review. I bought this book for my 7-year-old and thought it'd be a good starting place and introduction tool. Boy, was I surprised when I started flipping through the pages. There is way too much information for the suggested age group. I would not let my 11-year-old look at this book. The pics are too detailed with everything labeled, including the clitoris, vulva, scrotum, etc. It also shows a boy standing above the toilet with his penis in hand peeing. I'm going to show you guys that one because how crazy and weird it is to have a little boy peeing in a toilet. I had it marked. All right, this one right here. See, it shows the little boy peeing into a toilet standing up. Now, some people, like her, might get a little flustered by this, but what I think is really important is that this is showing for like, let's say a little 6-year-old girl who doesn't know what the difference is between the boy going in the bathroom and the girl going in the bathroom. And, people see it on TV shows. Why is there a urinal? Boys stand up. This shows them that boys pee differently than women do. That men can stand up and pee, but women can't. So it helps them bridge that gap in understanding some of those differences between a boy and a girl. I couldn't finish reading here, sorry. The pics are too detailed. Also, in the reproduction part, it has a diagram of the female and the male reproductive system, and looks something you would see in a 5th or 6th grade health book. Then it gives the explanation of sexual intercourse intersecting the penis into the vagina, and then proceeds to tell them how the sperm travels and meets the egg, etc. It also shows a picture of a pregnant lady, boobs exposed, with a fetus diagram, and then shows her legs in the stirrups giving birth. Just way too much inappropriate information for my young kids. End of quote. Now, I'm going to show you these other 2 pictures here in this book. So, just got to flip a couple pages here. Alright, so here's the one of the mother carrying the child, right? And yes, it does show the female breasts, but it's not really talking about that part. It's talking about the placenta, other, important information to know about what's going on during, the creation of a baby. And the next part here is this one right here. This is, the mother giving birth. And guess what? This is nothing. I've seen TV shows and movies like what is it? Barnyard, that's what it was. Barnyard showed more than that, actually. It actually was kind of awkward because they had a bunch of people like standing around this cow giving birth, and they were talking about like, what if the baby gets stuck and all these other things. And this is nothing compared to some of this other stuff. So some of these people are getting their nose out of joint over a drawing of a mom with her legs up and a baby's going to come out. That shows babies are born in a hospital nowadays, and that's what it looks like. Like, there are kids, I've seen 3-year-old kids standing next to their mother while their mother gave birth to a baby. So guess what? Sometimes this might help that child understand and not be quite as scared in that situation. This might be a good book to sit down with a child who's going to be a big brother or sister and go, this is where your brother and sister are going to come from, or brother or sister are going to come from. This book is a tool to help parents teach their children. It is not supposed to be a book that kids just read. It is not supposed to be for, all these, it's a tool. It's a teaching tool. This is what this book is. And, for people who can't handle that, they're just not comfortable with their own sexuality. If you can't talk to your child about sexuality, you're not able to let go of them because they're going to grow up someday. But really talking about all this stuff is going to be the most beneficial for these children. When you're more educated, you're not going to get in bad situations. And, not teaching your kids these things is just going down the wrong path. So I'm going to read a couple of things out of here real quick. Which one is the one that I really liked? All right, so like this page here. This shows the anatomy of both the boy and the girl. And it shows the differences and actually goes into quite good detail what they're actually called. It also shows like, hand, arms, chest, showing that, guys and girls aren't so different, but they do have some key differences. It's helping kids realize that just because you're a boy and just because she's a girl, that they're not different people, that you don't have to treat people differently because of that, but you need to respect them differently, that they have different needs that are going to go on that you have to respect about. And that's what I really like about this book. It also shows and talks about privacy. Like, there's one with mother taking a shower and asking about permission to come in. Here we go, right here. So this little boy is asking, can I come in? And the mom is reaching for a towel. And on the bottom it reads, just remember that everyone's privacy needs to be respected, including yours. Now, this is another part that I think is really important because, it's allowing kids to learn that they need to ask before coming in. And there's a difference between a boy's bathroom and a girl's bathroom, and they need to understand that. So this book really helps bridge that gap, and that's why I would really recommend this book. I tell people that you need to answer every question your child asks you. If you're reading this book to your child and you're being awkward about it, they're going to be awkward about it. If you're reading this book to your child and they ask you a question and you think that question is a too grown-up of a question and you don't answer it, kids are curious. They're going to go find the answer somewhere else, or at least try to. And that's when you start getting them, when they might start looking for, if they don't get this information, they're going to start looking at places like porn sites, thinking that they're going to get the information they need. And actually, they're going to get a unrealistic example of what sex is like. But it's not going to give them the information they actually need. So they're going to get a unfulfilling education of it. So it's really good when your child asks you these questions that you give them information. You don't have to tell them everything in such maybe a graphic sense, but you should definitely answer it to the best of your ability. And this book helps you kind of segue between those questions, and you really should try to answer every question your child asks you, because their brain is asking so that they can fill holes in their gap, and they really need that information. So that's why I think this book is really good, and I really recommend that if you're going to read this book to your child, that you be a part of it in some way, as if not reading it to them, if not having them read it to you, to at the very least talk about it at the very end and ask them if they have any questions and answer those questions. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope you guys all enjoyed it.